Now let us examine the 37 practices of a bodhisattva through hearing, contemplating, and practicing the bodhisattva's way. Yesterday we discussed the 3 poisons. Greed for ourselves burns like boiling water. Anger toward others rages like fire. Ignorance shrouds us like darkness. These principles are truly evident. Through these metaphors, we can easily understand. When we observe our present society, the 3 poisons are indeed severe. For society, nations, and individuals, greed, anger, and ignorance are negative emotions. Indeed, they are truly poisons. Why do we say so? We can examine the entire world. The history of the whole world reflects this same pattern. Humanity, driven by greed, anger, and ignorance, commits terrible and extremely selfish acts. I think if we pay attention to this point and observe various actions throughout the whole world, we may ultimately realize that Buddhist teachings are indeed correct, but few truly practice them. Everyone should sense this to some degree. I often think, these Buddhist principles, not just in words but in practice. Actually, if many people in the world truly practice them, we would live peacefully and happily, causing little harm to others. This was true in history and still remains true today. It will be true in the future as well. Therefore, when unpleasant events occur, during unpleasant circumstances, we must understand that in human society, while we speak beautifully of law, karma, and noble virtues, etc., these kind of things, though we speak of these beautifully, if people's minds are filled with the 3 poisons such as greed or anger, the actions of ordinary beings often fall short of our expectations. Many situations leave us speechless in real life. These kind of things indeed exist. We will face this in the future too. Therefore, we can see the actions of all the nations throughout the world clearly demonstrate this pattern. Yesterday's discussion of the 3 poisons, Togme Sangpo's analogies, were indeed excellent. Everyone should understand this clearly. Now, regarding monastics, they should have their own way of life. Everyone should remember, regarding the principle of distancing from relatives and friends, the Bodhikaryavattara states, one's own body is impermanent, yet one clings to impermanent people. Even our own bodies change moment by moment. They are impermanent. So why would you cling to another impermanent being? Isn't this strange? The Jataka tales also state, if Dharma practice abandons household and farming, how can one achieve Dharma while close to family life? For practitioners, only success in Dharma matters. But household affairs and farming are unlikely to succeed if you stay close to family life. Your Dharma practice will certainly fail. The preliminary practices mentions that fire and water cannot coexist. Many aspects of worldly and transcendental life truly cannot be combined in spiritual practice. It discusses the many faults of lay life and merits of monastic life. Ordination means one must release attachment to places, relatives, locations, and livelihood. If a monastic truly lives this way, as a monastic constantly thinking about family, friends, and daily life, thinking such thoughts, they are certainly not a good monastic. Instead, living like birds and beasts, these essential needs should be simple. There's no need to hoard much food. Generally, birds and beasts don't store food. Though groundhogs and some animals do store provisions, they typically gather enough food during summer. Don't we have those underground creatures? They do maintain stores relying on these provisions through colder periods until spring's arrival. The Khandra Pradipa Sutra also states, possess nothing as mine. As a monastic, have no sense of ownership over anything. Be attached to nothing whatsoever. Have no attachment to anyone. Live in this world like a rhinoceros, just like a solitary rhinoceros that dwells alone in this earthly world, like wind roaming freely through the sky, like wind in space wandering everywhere, just like this. Indeed, true monastics should be like this. Modern monastics, though they have left home, although they have left their homes, often tend to form new attachments elsewhere, just like creating another kind of household. Indeed, I've seen some people like this. Accumulating many possessions, of course, creates lots of attachments. This may be the case for monastics in the degenerate age. After leaving home, if one resides somewhere, still controlled by the three poisons, this goes against the true Dharma. Indeed, some monastics, though they have left their families, often quarrel with others while living in the monastery. If frequently controlled by the three poisons, this is little different from not having ordained. There's no difference, because at home one would create the same karma. If in a monastery one behaves this way daily, that's why I mentioned the other day, for us monastics, if we neither study nor contemplate, nor practicing Dharma, nor join genuine study groups, continuously occupying Sangha resources, even refusing to vacate communal quarters, even having poor relationships and attitudes with others, then in such cases, over time it becomes impossible to continue. I've heard that here, including among the nuns, there are such cases. I hope those who need to repent can really repent. If various conditions are truly unfavorable for staying here, there's no need to persist staying stubbornly, because we know in such situations it's possible that the Sangha hasn't granted permission, perhaps due to lack of confidence in hearing, contemplating, and practicing the Dharma. Regarding others, it seems in our society there are people with unstable mental states. This can indeed be quite troublesome. Every year we must send many people away, but they return after being sent away. In such cases, we have no choice but to speak harshly and have them dealt with through other means. Otherwise, there's no solution. It disrupts the Sangha. Even in the Buddha's Sangha, before ordination, they are always asked, is your mental state normal? Are all your faculties complete? These are basic ordination requirements. If you sneak in and refuse to leave, you may indeed create negative karma for yourself. Better to find places elsewhere, Tibet or Han regions, where there are monasteries and practice centers. Staying elsewhere might actually be better. This is just a suggestion. I hope everyone. But if for anyone who truly practicing Dharma but with poor health, our management staff here are compassionate and can help, such as making temporary accommodations. It's not one size fits all. Not everyone who doesn't comply with the rules here has mental problems. That approach is certainly wrong, but overall, the Sangha has its own rules and regulations. So I hope everyone will remember the law of karma. If you don't believe in karma, then don't mention law and precepts. They are even less relevant. If controlled by the three poisons elsewhere, you go against the true Dharma. Whether to ordain or not, perhaps not ordaining is better. Working for yourself, supporting yourself, I think this is quite good. If you ordain but don't study, contemplate and practice properly while enjoying offerings to the three jewels, that's even more pitiful. Previously, someone from our institute returned to lay life. He was quite intelligent. When I met him later, we had tea in Chengdu. He said, "I'm doing well now. When I was a monk, I was often afraid, worried that the wealth I enjoyed daily was impure. Now I run my own business and eat with a clear conscience." But who knows if it's truly pure in business? Furthermore, Venerable Laetitia once said, "Overturn the demon prison of your homeland, sever the bonds of worldly law, stay far from friends and enemies, the grounds of greed, anger, and negative karma." He also said, "Flee from environments harmful to the mind and constantly dwell in places that nurture virtue." Environment truly makes a great difference. Later in this commentary, scriptural citations will be referenced. Generally, for practice, it's excellent for beginners to have a quiet place, or somewhere far from afflictions. Venerable Dromtonpa also said, "Stay far from negative environments and samsara suffering. Always rely on places without attachment and aversion." Of course, nowadays, even avoiding negative environments, if you're constantly on computers and phones, that creates even more distraction for Dharma practitioners. This is obvious. Many people say, for example, reading books for 5 hours versus 1 hour on a phone use is far more harmful to the eyes. Indeed, this is true. Some people don't rest properly binge-watching shows. That shouldn't happen here in our monastery. I guess, probably. Maybe only 1% or even 0.1%. But there are still individual cases. Eventually they find themselves unable to control the afflictions. In such cases, my suggestion is, if you truly cannot help but remain online, constantly engaging in improper behavior, I think it's better to leave temporarily. After spending 2 or 3 years outside, see if there's any hope. If not, merge back into your ocean. If you make some progress, then return. If the institute still exists, returning might be beneficial. Otherwise, truly, in such an exceptional place, where so many spiritual teachers gather, where Mahayana Buddhism flourishes, if you don't embrace this, but instead scatter your attention on meaningless worldly matters, there's no point at all. Venerable Potawa also said in the collection of teachings, The Sun and Moon Move Freely, monastics should be like this, not clinging to or settling in one place. It's unnecessary to dwell in just one location. Otherwise, you may create negative karma. Originally, abandoning one's homeland, severing ties with relatives and friends, and giving up unexamined matters. These 3 points are Venerable Dromtonpa's regulations. But regrettably, many later practitioners found these regulations difficult to achieve. See if you can accomplish Dromtonpa's 3 regulations. In our daily teachings, choose what suits you best. Remember this well, not necessarily everything. When I teach this, it's not for you to remember all. For your own practice as a practitioner, if you think this suits me well, then remember that one. Geshe Karakpa concisely stated, abandon 3 things. Abandon your homeland, abandon your household, and abandon trivial matters. For monastics, these are all achievable. For lay people, abandoning everything, I don't know, probably might be quite problematic. But for monastics, you see, what Geshe Karakpa mentioned here, homeland, household, and trivial matters, abandoning even trivial matters is very important. Furthermore, Togme Sangpo himself taught, abandon environments that are sources of greed and evil, dwell in places that enhance virtue. This means staying away from homeland and cities. He also quoted teachings from the Bodhikaryavattara, detailing how Mahayana Buddhist practitioners must stay away from environments that generate greed and anger. Moreover, Togme Sangpo himself also led by example, putting this into practice. Okay, that's all for today.
Bandara